Welcome to the Powered by Age-Friendly City Zoomcast reality-style podcast.
We are movers and shakers, shaking up the old notion of silent, helpless, invisible seniors.
This is a new series of podcasts funded by the City of Vancouver and the 411 Senior Center Society.
As PBA AFC ambassadors, we
raise awareness,
share our original stories and poems,
inform, advocate, and involve seniors in discussing important social issues.
In short, these podcasts will help us,
you, in creating an age-friendly city for Vancouver today,
tomorrow the world.
You can hear us everywhere podcasts are heard. Good afternoon and welcome to Powered by Age, Canada's longest running senior-led podcast with our 70 historian. Is it our 77th episode today? 77. And today we're doing something special. We are going to be having a Put Your Voice Forward activity during October and November. We're following up with some of the requests that podcasters have had to learn particular skills. And I'm Charlotte Ferrell, your host. I always forget to introduce myself. Today, we're going to be having Robin Eriksson, a dynamo, who's the coordinator of programming at CJSF Radio. Our podcast this month, we have shared to the radio station most Fridays, and any seniors, people over 55 who are in the audience of the radio station today and are interested in getting involved with our podcast program, it doesn't cost any money. You could send an email to pbaafc@gmail.com. That's powered by age because we're working. Our goal is to create an age-friendly city. And so we welcome you to join. So today, we're going to do something slightly different in introducing ourselves. You're going to think about an animal and the sound of an animal that represents how your week has been so far. And so you can make your sound and then say your name and just what you like about making your voice, putting your best voice forward, which is the workshop we're going to be doing today with Robin. So I'll start with Lesley.
Meow. So I've been very laid back this week. And basically, cats are very independent creatures. So I've been sort of alone at home, resting my eyes after my cataract operation.
Oh, thank you. Neill?
I don't want to be a copycat, but I was with a friend yesterday, and he has a cat that can't speak, can't meow. He opens his mouth and nothing comes out, but he can communicate because he can purr like crazy. So, brrr, brrr, brrr. I love that cat. Even though he can't speak, he let me know he was enjoying being loved.
Well, that's a great sound. Nancy?
I thought of Tony the Tiger. It's been great. Didn't he do like cornflakes or something? He's like a cereal guy, a cereal tiger, like for cereal.
Frosted Flakes.
Oh, there you go. Even better. I like frosted. You have the sugar on it. Frosted Flakes. It's been great.
Chris?
That's funny because I was going to do the same, but for a very different reason. So, because of the ups and downs and the not sometimes challenging situations that I find myself in. My name's Chris Morrissey.
All right, welcome. Delsa?
Oh my God. Woof, woof. Oh, wow. I'm a dog lover. We had 2 dogs, but I couldn't really imitate them. I am Delsa. I'm a yoga teacher. So I want to say something. Last weekend, I did something which I haven't done lately. I sat in the corner of my house for 2 hours and stood there still 2 hours.
Now, we'll ask you later, what did that reveal to you?
I'll tell you.
2 hours.
Jeannie?
The hawk. Is it?
Aha.
Hi, Prafulla. Well, she's gonna do. Oh,
It's a good one.
Crow. I always think of myself as a crow. I collect things and I make a lot of noise.
Okay, and Jeannie is also the editor of the Old Rag. Say the name of the newsletter for the 411 Senior Center.
I'm forgetting. It's definitely a rag.
Yeah, it's not funny. It is 3 letters and it's so simple. I can picture it, but it's something about a rag. Old timers. I don't know why, because my brain doesn't want to say old timers. We're young timers. Okay.
Well, I don't know about you, honey. Yes, I am the editor of the Old Timers Rag, which is the 411 newspaper.
Okay.
And I'm putting it together as of today, actually. I started. We do 4 of them a year. 4 of them a month. Oh, gosh. 1 every 4 months.
Okay. Well, we're encouraging people. Some of our podcasters belong to the 411 Senior Center. Everyone is welcome to join, because none of us are physically in the building, some not at all and some only rarely. So you can go to the 411 Senior Center's website and go into membership and you can join. Next Thursday in this time spot, they're having an annual general meeting. I probably will take the laptop there so that people can attend who virtually. But I encourage you to join because the 411 Center is among the sponsors for this podcast. Prafulla, what we're doing is the sound of an animal and then something interesting to share about yourself.
Oh, okay. Well, I have a hard time with all that, but I know a friend of mine who lives in the building and she has a lovely little dog and he's always going quack, 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 quack. It's the cutest sound that I've ever heard, so that's all I can think of.
Oh, thank you for sharing that sound. And now that will take us to our facilitator, Robin Eriksson.
My sound is and it's a little made up because I'm not exactly sure that that's the sound that it is, but for context, I've been feeling a little under the weather for the last little while, so I feel a little slothy. And it just so happens that today is also the International Day of the Sloth.
Oh,
Wow.
Apparently. And so when I quickly Googled what sound does a sloth make, sloths make a sound that is very much like a deflating balloon. So I tried to mimic the sound of a deflating balloon as best as I could.
Robin, 1 second. Right next to you in the Zoom squares is Peter. He was connecting to audio. Are you able to say something? See if we can hear you.
I don't know. I'll try.
Peter,
he was there and then he muted. Oh, there you go.
Yes, I unmute. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Peter is a poet, a storyteller, and human rights activist who was our featured guest last week, but has decided he's going to continue on with us because he has lots of writing and thoughts he wants to share. Okay, back to Robin.
Do you want to make an animal sound for us, Peter, that represents how you're feeling
animal
today?
sound.
Animal sound.
Yahoo!
What is that?
What do you think that is?
I don't know. That's what I'm asking.
Oh,
Yeah. Ooh.
A wolf.
That's right.
Hey, what?
A wolf.
Wolf.
Howling wolf.
Hmm.
And did we hear from you, Nancy?
Yes,
Okay.
that's Tony the Tiger.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So I'm just wondering, Robin, if it's the International Day of the Sloth, do we all have permission to be lazy today?
I hope so. I hope so. I hope so.
I thought it was too fast. I mean, if it's a sloth, it's barely moving. So
Yeah.
you need to deflate slowly.
Although, the way that balloons deflate are always, they kind of twirl around the room in a frenetic state. So, yeah. So thanks for having me. So nice to see some familiar faces in the room and also meet some new folks. I'm super excited that the podcast is still going strong. That's really amazing. And as Charlotte mentioned, she had asked me to come and do a session on sort of landing in our voice. The work that I do in radio and with volunteer programmers is a lot about sort of finding your unique voice and being able to speak with confidence and, enunciate well so that your listeners can hear what you're saying and find, inflection and tone that might provide a little bit more emphasis and meaning in terms of the things that we're wanting to get across. And so I thought that we would start today, and it's funny that we started with the animal sound because when I was thinking about this session, I thought, we should do a check-in with a sound that mimics something. And Charlotte must have been on the other side of the city reading my mind because that's pretty much what we just did. So that's awesome. But I thought, what we'd start with today is just a short, not necessarily meditation, although it's a little meditative, but an exercise that I'll lead you through to feel the bones in our bodies and the physical structure that gives us weight, and that ultimately, if we can sort of get into what that real structural foundation is that we have, we can speak with a lot more presence and really pull up from the depths of our bodies, the voice that we have to be, as I said, speaking with a little bit more presence and confidence and authority and ownership ultimately of our words. So this can be done sitting or standing. I'm gonna sit in the chair where I am, but it's really important that if you can have your feet on the floor and your spine as straight as you can have it, and sit up straight. And I invite you to close your eyes and just focus on my words and my voice. And you might want to just put your hands on your on your thighs. And take a couple of just deep breaths before we start. And then I want you to feel your feet. And I want you to specifically feel the bones in your feet. And imagine in your mind's eye what your feet look like from a skeletal perspective. All of the bones and how those bones are connecting to the floor and the bones in your feet. And then moving up, I want you to see your ankles and those bones that make up the ankle and connect to the foot. And then see your shin. The shin in the right leg, and the shin in the left leg. And imagine your shin. And then moving up your knees and really see your knees in your mind's eye. And then see your thighs and those big bones in your body that make up your legs and your thighs. And how they connect to your hips, and that your hips are part of your pelvic girdle. And how in perfect alignment when you're standing, your hip girdle sits right on top of your knees, on top of your feet, and supports the upper part of your body. And out of your pelvic girdle, imagine your sacrum, which is where your pelvic girdle meets your vertebrae. And one by one, see those vertebrae in your spine moving up one by one. Another one on top of another one. All the way up. And then at a certain point, you're going to feel that you've kind of come to the top of your spine where your shoulders are. But before that, feel how your ribs kind of reach out from the back of your spine and from the back of your vertebrae and reach around the front of you, a little bit like tree branches, but also sort of like a hug. And feel how your ribs just sort of wrap themselves to the front and create a container for all those precious organs. And then see your shoulders and your shoulder girdle sitting on top of your vertebrae and on top of your ribs. And imagine your shoulder joints proper and how they're connected to your upper arms and your elbows and your lower arms and your wrists and your hands and all of the bones that make up your hands and give you that flexibility in your hands. Mostly flexibility in your hands. And then breathe into your vertebrae again and take those last few steps following your vertebrae up to just behind where your ears would be. And then feel your skull and how your skull just sits and floats on top of that top vertebrae. And see the world out of those hollow eyes, and see and smell through those bones in your head. And see your whole skeleton, kind of like Mr. Bones hanging in the doctor's office there. And feel yourself as that skeleton, and breathe your bones. And allow yourself to yawn through your bones. And just take a little body scan of your bones again and feel how connected to the ground you are and how stable you feel or not, where you might not feel so stable or connective. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes within that skeleton that you are and just give a big sigh.
Somebody came about 10 minutes ago, rang the bell too.
And so that exercise actually comes from a book by Kristen Linkletter, who taught with the Royal Academy of Acting in London for very, very many years, and sort of developed a practice of getting into your body to get at your authentic voice. And how it really starts with that solidity of our skeleton to give us the sort of power and potency of this human form that we have that is able to speak and move and animate ourselves, which is so much about expression, right? And so with that, I encourage you to do and practice that exercise at home when you're feeling like, you need a little potency for your voice. It does magic. And then what you can add to it is, bringing that sound up from the bottom of your feet all the way up, and it'll just sound like mud if we do it on the Zoom call here with everybody's microphones on. But you can bring that sound from a really low kind of growl up through your feet all the way up into a lighter expression through as your voice rises up and into your upper extremities. And so that can be kind of a powerful exercise to do either with sounds or, to vowel things out. So I just wanted to start with that as sort of a landing exercise. And then Charlotte had mentioned that there's some folks who are going to read. And so I thought what we would do is have just some exercises within readings that folks were going to share, and that we can do in real time, just as examples of, how you can play with reading and how you can play with voice and different voices to find how emphasis can be determined and exaggerated or determined in some cases. Give things a little bit more drama or theatrics or feeling. Has somebody got a paragraph or a poem, or what have we got today?
Okay, so how long of a piece are you looking for, Robin?
It can be just short, even a few lines.
Yeah, well, I've got, it's actually 1,000-word piece, but I could just read a paragraph from it.
Yeah, that would be great, Lesley.
Yeah, okay. So this is about a public viewing of a soccer game, actually, in Japan. And we're sitting there, it's like 5 minutes before the end of the game, and the home team scores a goal. Right. The tension in the crowd did increase, however. The game progressed without Japan scoring any goals. 10 minutes before the end of the match, the score was a disappointing 1-0 for Iran. Then Japan scored just before the final whistle. The game ended in a 1-1 tie, guaranteeing a rematch. The crowd erupted into a giant roar. All discipline and polite self-control disappeared. A tide of pent-up energy was released. The entire crowd threw their hands in the air, and I heard them all burst into English as they chanted the team's slogan, "We are Reds, we are Reds." As the cheering continued, fans threw their cups into the air. Stoic salarymen tried to avoid showers of beer as they pushed their way home through the solid wall of bodies. Remarkably, among all these hundreds of people jostled together, I did not see one miserable or angry drunk. Everyone was friendly and polite.
Cool. Because I'm going to give you two activities to sort of tackle that text with. Maybe you want to just read half, just as an example. So the first time I want you to read it again, I want you to read it as absolutely slow as a snail can go.
Okay.
And draw out every single word. All right?
Okay.
I have
The tension in the crowd did increase, however. The game progressed without Japan scoring any goals. 10 minutes before the end of the match, the score was a disappointing 1-0 for Iran.
All right. And the second time you're going to go as absolutely fast as you can go. Read it as fast as you can.
Same piece?
Yeah. Same piece.
The tension in the crowd did increase. However, the game progressed without Japan scoring any goals. 10 minutes before the end of the match, the score was a disappointing 1-0 for Iran.
Okay. Did you feel, and maybe just with that sentence, it might not completely illuminate the places where those tactics would emphasize energy in the way that it might throughout the whole piece, but it changes the way that comes across, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, it does. Like a commentator, right? Like a cricket commentator. You know how fast they go? They go.
Yeah, or an auctioneer.
Yeah, an auctioneer, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I heard also in the second read. Was it sounded very, very journalism, very sports journalism.
Yeah, like it's, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm unfamiliar with cricket, but
like in the olden days when you listen to commentary on the radio and you were like glued to the radio because you can't see anything. So the voice is all that matters, right?
Yeah.
Keeps you glued to the radio is the voice, right? And the tempo of the whole thing too.
Yeah, exactly. And so being able to play with those tensions, right? And, obviously we exaggerated those tensions by drawing it out way slower than you would ever speak and speeding it up way faster than you would ever speak in terms of delivering, but that it changes the voice, right? And can really add a lot of drama to something that is still written in one voice.
Do you want to hear? Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, do you want to read a little bit more and incorporate some of the slow and some of the fast in places where you feel like they might help the story along? And we'll listen again.
Yeah. Okay. This part is a very tense part of the writing. So perhaps a lot of it needs to be fast. Okay. Let me try the next couple of sentences. Okay. Then Japan scored just before the final whistle. The game ended in a 1-1 tie, guaranteeing a rematch. The crowd erupted into a giant roar. All discipline and polite self-control disappeared. A tide of pent-up energy was released. The entire crowd threw their hands in the air, and I heard them all burst into English as they chanted the team slogan, "We are Reds, we are Reds."
And you can feel that, right?
Yeah. You can feel the tension and the excitement.
Yeah, way more than on the first the first go round. So yeah.
I felt you were carrying us along. I felt like I was in the crowd. Okay. Neill brought
Chris has
something.
turned into an alien now over there. And a pirate in Janine. Great, thank you for volunteering to go first and
no worries.
And read. Neill, you're jumping and throwing your hat in the ring, so to speak.
I have 3 pieces that you can choose for. I got a 2.5-minute happy poem, a 3.5-minute not so happy poem, and a 8-minute short story.
Well, I think likewise, we'll just do a little portion to illuminate how that same kind of principle works, even with poetry. And so, let's do a couple of stanzas of the poem. Maybe not the whole thing, but you choose.
I have a question about this. I find it to me, it's interesting that as we express ourselves differently, it gives a different impression. At the same time, I'm worried about the loss of the context of a poem or a writing by constantly picking it apart.
I tell you what, I've got a poem called The Yellow Umbrella, and it's 2.5 minutes. So can we do that? 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
The Yellow Umbrella. The gloom of the morning clouds set the mood of the day. I sat at the bus stop, huddled against the cold morning wind, bemoaning the fact the gray gloom permeated all. It had rained all night, settled into a drizzly morning mist, occasionally expanding into a miniature cloudburst that chilled the bones and mimicked the heaviness that gripped my heart. The useless effort with diet and exercise to regain my health, the frustrating and seemingly impossible task to achieve my financial goals, the gloom of the day, a perfect match of the resident misery in my mind. Down the street, a ray of yellow sunshine emerged from the swirling morning mist, a bright yellow umbrella carried by a child of indeterminate age, dressed in a bright yellow raincoat with matching cap and boots, a miniature version of a warm, loving sun, intent on stomping up the biggest puddle splash. I'm having a moment's difficulty with the computer. There we are. Stomping up the biggest puddle splash. And she splashed, and as she splashed, she sang, "Sing a song of sunshine, be happy every day. Sing a song of sunshine, you'll chase the clouds away. Be happy every moment, no matter what you do. Just sing a song of sunshine and let the sun shine through." Splash, 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 she splashed her way down the street. And as the yellow umbrella disappeared into the morning misty rain, I swear to you, I saw a beam of sunshine splash, splash, splashing down the street beside her. Ta-da.
Lovely, thank you.
What I heard Jeannie's comment that half a poem is not worth it. Thank you, Jeannie.
And yes, absolutely. Half a poem doesn't give you the whole flavor. What I want to sort of tackle in a way, I guess, is again, like how do you add certain emphasis to the words to give it more drama? And so, like Lesley, although not like Lesley, what I hear in your poem, Neill, is more dynamic range in terms of like really down in this deep voice from your gut, right? Like bringing that so deep voice in, and reading a little bit, maybe not the whole poem, with that super as deep as you can get, and then to contrast that with a more falsetto voice and where those aspects come in. So do you want to give us another read of just, maybe a stanza or two with each of those?
Well, I tried to convey the idea of heaviness at the outset, because I want to brighten I want to go from heavy to the, and I sing the little girls' phrases, it's like
totally, yeah. And I'm just wondering how we can even take that and exaggerate it and stretch it even into more, right? Like let's see how, if we can maximize that feeling. How can we maximize that? Because I hear that in my voice with what you're already doing, which is amazing.
I normally would read that poem slower, but I feel like I'm under pressure because you only want a few seconds of it. But I do tend to slow my reading down when I'm in the environment. So just give me 1 second to load it up, and I would say, the gloom of the day was a perfect match for the resident misery in my mind. Down the street, a ray of yellow sunshine emerged from the swirling morning mist. A bright yellow umbrella carried by a child of indeterminate age. Dressed in a bright yellow raincoat with matching cap and boots, a miniature version of a warm, loving sun intent on stomping up the biggest puddle splash. And as she splashed, she sang, "Sing a song of sunshine, be happy every day. Sing a song of sunshine, you'll chase the clouds away. Be happy every moment, no matter what you do. Just sing a song of sunshine and let the sun shine through."
Wow, big difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, did you hear that?
Yes, I did. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes it's really subtle, right?
Yes. Yes.
Is that like basically singing with emotion, basically, right?
Yes, I think so.
Singing with feelings, like the first part of the poem is like depressing and heavy rain and mist and fog and the feeling and the person, whoever is very down and depressed, right?
Yeah.
Thinks that part of it would come with a lot of emotion of that. And then the second part would be like light-hearted, right?
Prafulla, I think it's not reading it, it's feeling it.
Yes, feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. The first reading sounded like a monologue. The second one has layers into it. I don't know much about this. This is something new to me again. And I think when you read something like that, especially Neill's poem just now, there's a gloom side of it, and there's a yellow umbrella, and there's a happy and sad. So I think you really have to tune into every word, what you're saying, and feel it in the heart, as opposed to just reading it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what these exercises help us to tap into, right? Because when we slow ourselves right down or we speed ourselves right up, it connects us to different sort of modalities in our bodies, and we feel differently about the expression of those things. If we speak more gruffly or we speak more shrill, all of a sudden it changes what that emotionality is and how those feelings are felt in our own bodies, but then also transmitted or translated to our audience, who is ultimately the folks that we're trying to please, right? It's not enough for us to just think of how we want to read it. We need to think about how it's being received by the people who are in our audience, which is ultimately the purpose of presentation. We can create all the art that we want, but if it's lacking in the receiving, then how do we fill that gap?
It's the same as absolutely everything we do. It's the presentation that counts.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And just to connect to, I don't know whether you can see this sheet because I have a screensaver on, but it's a list. There's 12 shows. It's your radio show could be here. Unfilled spots on CJSF. So in working to move beyond, when we first, like I'm a poet and writer, we hear things with the writer's voice, but then these exercises help you take it to another dimension. So I think Chris was another person, I think, that brought something to do the exercise with Robin.
Yeah, Chris?
Yeah, mine is different again. Let me just get it here. When will Dad be back? She asked as she sat waiting on the steps. I have no idea. You know your dad. Yes, she did. Every year it was the same thing. The family vacation was always delayed by about one day. This year it was the same deal. He knew yesterday. Why can't he be ready? He makes me so mad. I just have to go back to work to clear my desk, dear, Dad said at the end of breakfast. She knew that when he got back, he would have to go and get the car ready, check the oil, the tires, fill with gas. We were always left waiting for him. Why? We only had 1 week, for heaven's sake.
Great, thank you.
There's more, obviously, but that's the first part.
Yeah. What I want to hear in the child's voice is, I don't know how to explain it exactly, but I want you to try to read it almost like you're going to have a temper tantrum.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I think I can do that. When will Dad be back? She asked as she sat waiting on the steps. I have no idea. You know your dad. Yes, she did. Every year it was the same bloody thing. The family vacation was always delayed by about one day. This year it was the same deal. He knew yesterday. Why can't he ever be ready? He makes me so mad.
Right?
That was 100% improvement. That was fabulous, Chris.
Because you kind of want to hear that little girl's feet stomping on the ground, right?
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
I can
just
do that, right?
Exasperation about
Anger
dad.
and frustration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, what would partner with that And to really exaggerate that exasperation is to make the dad's voice slow, right? And so that tension of the daughter being all, energetic and, like, why can't we just go already, and the dad just being pokey.
Oh, yes. Always hokey.
Yeah. And then you can feel how those characters in that story become more personified through not just the words, because the words definitely give you that level of personification, but also through different ways of vocalizing through reading. And, a lot of it is just trying out these little tactics. Because really they're just ways of sort of playing with the text or with the poetry to add different energy to it, whether it's anger or happiness or, a certain politeness maybe, or, you can play with even the opposites, like what would happen in your poem, Neill, if you read the girly part, the sunny part, with this real like gruff, I'm a miserable old guy, and I'm floating with the umbrella, and it doesn't make any sense at all. But it might give this sort of this mirror flavor to the characters that you're creating by playing within that line and with that tension in kind of a strange way. And likewise with the dad and the daughter there in your story too, Chris, right? Like, what if the dad all of a sudden was the one who was kind of temper tantrumy, and the daughter was like, oh, but we just have all the time in the world, and I'm just going to check the oil, and
What I learned from you with that exercise is that the drama in the words has got to be emphasized. And so is the guy has got to, life is shit in a bucket. And the little girl is saying, hey, it's a joy to be alive. And to put that drama into the poem as I read it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when you coach me on the speed, Robin, I'd always sort of learned that when you read something, you read it fairly slowly and make sure you enunciate, and that you don't read quickly. And so that was something that I hadn't done before, was think about the speed to add energy, to add excitement.
Yeah.
Did someone else bring something they wanted to play with?
Yeah, I have one.
Okay, Delsa.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh my God. Now I'm.
Go for it, Delsa.
Okay, hold on. This poem is inspired by this. Neill, do you recognize that?
Oh, great.
Neill
On the other side.
Page 87 about the monk. Right? About the monk. I wrote a poetry about a Buddhist monk. It's not the same monk, because the way Neill wrote that story is in a different perspective. My poetry is based on one-on-one experience with a Buddhist monk friend. So this is actually a story that I have written 2-3 years ago that I changed to a poem. Here we go. A forest monk, oh God, please. He never wanted to be a Buddhist monk. It's an ancient tradition. To spare a son out of 9 is such a big honor in Buddha land. He renounces his family and friends, look for total strangers to replace them. Is it not weird and strange? I asked him one day. He wears a bright saffron robe, no buttons, no zipper, no belt to hold it close. He walks barefoot, eat with his hands. Simplicity, his Siddhartha Gautama commands. The monk claims to be celibate, for a man is the ultimate sacrifice compared to none. He says, doesn't bother me, can't miss it if you never had it even once. My monk friends always says, we suffer because we're born. We die for the same reason. Don't dare say other reasons, for there's none. Life is full of sufferings, the monk declares. At birth, we came out suffering, crying, gasping for fresh breath of fresh air. All through life, we suffered more. We don't know how we don't know who we really are. Our family and friends suffer and cry when we die. They cling to us, that's why. The monk says, we cling to everything in sight called attachment, a big word in Islam. When you cling to anything and everything, you gain nothing. So you let go. You let go. You let go. It's the only way to go.
Nice.
I don't know whether I'm really
Like that last one.
how a Buddhist monk speaks.
Cool. I'm going to give you an exercise to try out, Delsa. And what I want you to try is to read as well as you can and shake your head like no.
Oh, okay.
No.
No buttons. No zipper.
No.
No belt.
Right?
No. Okay. Let me exercise my neck.
You can do both at the same time.
Okay.
I know it might be challenging, but you try your best.
Let me try that part, Robin. He wears a bright saffron robe. No buttons. No zipper. No belt to hold it close. He walks barefoot. Eat with his hands. Simplicity. His Siddhartha Gautama commands.
Keep shaking your head. No.
I'm gonna get it. That's good.
Neill, did you like this interpretation of a Buddhist monk? How I related to him like one-on-one, like this poem is like a personal experience with him. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that was interesting, Robin. I noticed Delsa's intonation really improved when she did that.
Yeah. No.
Right? Our physical body matters. And how we bring our physical body into the space of speaking. It's interesting on the radio because we're when we make radio, we're usually alone in a black box talking to nobody except for the microphone. And there is this tendency to all of a sudden lose animation. And yet when we animate ourselves, even when we're alone in the dark, we have so much more breadth of expression than we do. And so to, involve movement and to get our skeleton activated in the use of our voice can really be impactful and change how those words and that intonation comes out, right? Because when we're shaking our head and going, no buttons, no saffron robes, no belt, no, like there's none of this stuff, right? All of a sudden it becomes really palatable.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So, I think as you mentioned, being alone in that black box, I've recorded poetry in a studio where there were people around, and so I was performing and looking to the people. But then since we've had to produce at home, it's just me and the microphone. And playing with the words become your company. So when you've given them these different speeds, or as you said, different body motions, it does help you to be alive with the words.
Yeah, my station manager at the station where I used to work in Winnipeg, he used to say to the folks who did the morning show at 8:00 in the morning, run up and down the stairs a couple of times. And so when you get to the radio show and it's time to turn the microphone on, it sounds like you've got energy, right? Like conjure it up. If something requires energy, jog on the spot, do some jumping jacks. If something requires, a real lack of energy, lay down and, shut your eyes and take a couple of breaths and really just feel yourself slow down. It matters, that impact comes across, and the things that we do come across.
I have a one that is like a playful one, a little one. It's playful, like a kitten kind of a thing. And I think that would be a real challenge to read, right? Because you have to, how do you make it like a kitten, right? Trying to imagine a little kitten playing with a woolen ball or something like that. And how,
right.
So
maybe you meow after every sentence, and not to say that that's how you present the material in the end, right?
Yeah.
But if you read it and then meow.
Well, I'm just wondering, it's a very short one, and I wrote it, and I thought when you were talking about it, and I read Neill's poem, which is also really great, and then I read all the others, and I thought, this is so playful, and it's like a little kitten. How am I going to read that one,
Do you want to read it for us, Prafulla?
It's like a very short one, but I'm not sure how I'm going to do it. Let me try. Because I don't know how you can get the playfulness. Okay. All right, let me try. Okay. My little ray of sunshine, there's a certain slant of light that split through my window into multicolored rays which bounce and tumble to the floor. The bright elusive bits dance and tease my poor cat, hunched up in the corner, tense and vigilant, eyes gleaming with triumph. She pounces on the intruder and swallows it whole. So that's the little poem that I'm trying. Thank you. But I'm trying to do it like in a kittenish, playful way, but I don't.
Your avatar was fully engaged.
What I want you to try is to make it completely monotonous.
Oh, monotonous?
Absolutely, just like droll. Just monotonous. And bring it all down to exactly the same level, just like bore the heck out of all of us.
Okay. My ray of sunshine, spirit, there is a certain slant of light that split through my window into multicolored rays, which bounce and tumble to the floor. The bright elusive beats dance and tease my poor cat, hunched up in the corner, tense and vigilant, eyes gleaming with triumph. She bounces on the intruder and swallows it whole. I don't know how that was, but that was a very weird feeling.
Tell me about what was weird about it.
It felt strange because I had to slow down and it really go as slow, and I couldn't slow down enough, like I had a hard time trying to slow down. Then as I started slowing down, my voice got deeper and deeper, and then because the words in the poem are like bounce and light and spring and all that. So trying to get those words to a monotonous level was a little harder, so
Right. But what happened for you and what happened for me also is that it emphasized the words that needed to have bounce.
Okay, I'm quite confused because was that not like boring to hear it though?
Well, yes and no, right? And the exercises are not the way that the final presentation happens or occurs, right? They're methods of exploring how to expand the text and how to expand the words into having more drama and more emphasis, right? And finding where those bits of emphasis need to land. And so for me, right, when you first read your poem, there was no distinction between the words that needed to have brightness and bounce, right? It was all bounce. Yes. And so what that exercise did for me is that it allowed me to hear where I wanted the monotony to stay and live, but then when I wanted the little bright points that you could highlight with a different tone or a different speed or a certain brightness of your voice. And that's what these exercises give us, right? It's not that we're going to do what we did in as slow as a snail voice or as fast as we can read voice or as temper tantrum voice or whatever. But they give us a different way in to explore and experience the words so that we can expand the drama of those words and really get at the feeling that we can evoke, which is the power of the words, right? Is how they can evoke feeling.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. So go slow on some words and then go a little bit uppy on other words, like something like that. Go slow a little bit and then some words that are lighter, go a little bit lighter on those words. Like, is that how it should be read?
Yeah, like in your poem, for instance, I could hear words like bright and pounce and, like those are the playful words, right?
Yes.
The other words don't need that same level of sort of brightness and play.
Okay, I get it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
That's very helpful.
Peter,
Robin,
do you ever do exercises like this as a storyteller? Oh, you have to unmute.
Oh, yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, yes. It depends. You do it in drama. And drama and poetry are tied together very nicely. And if I can share, listening to our guest, Robin, I was very impressed with the body exercise, the making ourselves powerful and brave and courageous. I have a poem, if I can share it, a short one, and it has to do with an unseen audience about these big leaders in the world like Putin and the Taliban and all these heavy men, mostly men, that treat women very, very badly and children. So I wrote this poem using something from Christian kind of mission, but it's not to convert people only. So it means a change of heart. If these men can have a change of heart, because I become very frustrated with the international politics, with the Chinese and the Russians and the Americans, and I find myself helpless. So I put it down in a poem, and I entitled it, "You Must Be Born Again." Power on the airways, power on the waterways, power from the fighter plane, you must be born again. No more planets to find. You must be born again. No more oceans to cross. You must be born again. No more diamonds to dig. You must be born again. No more cotton to pick. You must be born again. No more whipping and pain. You must be born again. Power on the airwaves, children died. Power on the waterwaves, mothers died. Power from the fighter plane, you must be born again. And after writing that, I feel good, even though I can't talk to them directly.
Yeah, thank you. And again, playing with those opposites, Peter, I wonder what that voice would sound like if it was a more feminine voice reading those words, right? Mm-hmm. And how that might change the emphasis and the meaning in some ways, right? And to give a different level of potency to some of those words. And so that's something that I would play with, is speaking in falsetto or something that, just brings it a little bit higher, into a higher octave kind of.
It also has to do with culture. I mean, I'm a Caribbean person. I'm a Caribbean person, a West Indian person, and we speak with a different kind of voice even than in other cultures. And the feminine voice, if I put it on, it'll be very hypocritical.
I would like to hear it as though it was Martin Luther King who was reading it.
Oh, yes.
Because that's what the content felt like.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's try Martin Luther King, Peter.
No, it's okay. I'll practice that.
It is masculine enough. He wants to bring
thank you, Neill. That's very good point. I'll try the Martin Luther on a bigger audience, a real audience.
Well, as Robin said, it's the idea of playing with these different things. Not that we're going to present them in these ways, but sometimes just doing it because it triggers different centers in your brain. It's also, I found, a really good thing that helps me with memorizing sections of poems, because as you played with it, it encodes something in your brain. So it's just a way of having fun. Not to say that you would present the poem in a different voice, but just anchoring the words and anchoring different sentiments in your brain.
Thank you, Peter, for that.
It was wonderful. Everybody's presentations were wonderful. And I want to ask you, what did you think of, what did you get out of this session today? Anyone?
What I'd like to answer that, and that is that, Robin, that's the second thing I've learned from you that's important. The other one was to read from the camera, read for the camera. And now I pulled it up in my Word program and I read it, but I know the camera is watching me read it. So that was the second thing. So I appreciate it and I applaud you. Thank you.
I had a lot of fun today, Robin.
Nancy went away from the camera a minute. So we are continuing on. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, we asked what things people would like to do as we're in our third season. We had our second year birthday party, but people said learning more things and working toward an audiobook. So an audiobook is a big thing, but a little part of it is the pieces that go into it. So do you want to continue on with this ways of learning to put your best voice forward? Oh, yes. That's the thing you can do. You can show your hands. You don't have to push that little thing down there that says the reaction. You can raise your hand, wave it in the air like you just don't care. Okay. So we will continue on with that, and then we will be working toward what we did when we recorded the spins that are on our website before. We scheduled some times on a Tuesday where people, when they were ready, they had a 15-minute time that they recorded it. Either Jesse or I recorded it, and then it was put onto our website as a spin. So next week, we'll continue on with another level of put your best voice forward. And you can suggest other things. Someone after the end of the session last week, you could send me an email to pbaafc@gmail for other things, other skills you'd like to know. I just have been for 3 days taking a course that starts at 8:30 in the morning and went right up to 1 o'clock on engaging your audience and transfer of technology things. So there are going to be some other things that you'll be learning. And Robin has got a whole, I won't say bag of tricks. She's got a whole box. We moved offices. And so she's got boxes of ideas and techniques and things. We're going to working with the script because some of you, Neill has registered a name for a radio station. We have this list of 12 shows that are open and available. I can't show it because I'm using this back screen. Anyhow, there are 12 shows on. If you go on the CJSF radio station website, you will see times a day and different days that are open for shows that are half an hour or an hour. So definitely working through the ideas, working through voice techniques, working through ways that 2 or 3 people can work together to present a panel program. We've had that done before. Now we have new groups, new groupings of people, so that like there are 2 of you that are interested in meditation and you want to do a program together. So we're working to build your capacity to be able to do a podcast show, but even beyond that, if you show desire, to do a radio show. And Robin is there with her pen. We are using this also as part of the volunteer training program. The radio station has had a volunteer training program. We moved from the top floor to the basement of the building. Not a whole class can't sit in together. So this virtual medium is a way for being trained as a volunteer. So a couple of people have already let Jesse or Robin know that you're interested in being involved in the volunteer training. So you can maybe, Robin, tell them the best way to get in touch with you.
Yeah, the best way to get in touch with me right now, because we're still working from home mostly, although I do want to say that our brand new permanent new station is almost wired up and ready for inviting live broadcasters back in after 20 months. Has it been 20 months?
Yes, feels like 21.
Oh my goodness. So that's really exciting and opens up a lot of possibilities for people to broadcast in person, which is a lot easier than producing virtually as you have been on the podcast here. But the best way to get a hold of me is by email, and Charlotte can share my email with the group. I think I'm also CC'd a lot of the time on the PBA bulletins that go out. CJSF prog@sfu.ca is where you can find me in my office life. And happy to answer questions about what it is to be a volunteer at the station and just, to help you with whatever.
Yeah, could you put that email in the chat, Robin?
I sure can, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And is there any homework you want to give people to do?
I don't think so. I mean, I would just encourage you to, practice reading in different voices with different emphases. Be playful, be ridiculous, be serious, hang upside down. Put yourselves in positions or sort of states where it feels really comfortable and really awkward, and just feel where you can add those levels of tension. When you're presenting in live time, in real time. Because it's one thing to read, right? Like when we all read, I'm adding my own emphasis, right? I hear that voice of that character in my head, and they have their own personality. And as a reader or as a presenter, you're doing that for me, right? But I still want all of the dramatic levels that my imagination conjures up. It's just that you get to do that for me in real time. So
most of us are of the wonderful age where we heard radio. You might have sat with your grandparents listening to radio shows, radio movies, radio stories. So today you have that opportunity through podcasting and radio, bringing it back. So thank you so much today for taking time out of your very busy schedule, Robin. You've given inspiration and tips and things that can help us to build and grow and flow.
Yeah, thank you. It's been lovely to be here.
Yeah, thank you. It was really good. We learned a lot.
Thank you.
So I'll see you again next week at 1, and we will have more fun.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.